Coming up on Arirang News. A North Korean has defected to South Korea by crossing neutral waters between the two Koreas. Today's defection is the first via the West Sea in around 15 months. South Korean think tank, the KDI, has cut the country's economic growth outlook to 2.5% for this year. This as weak domestic demand pulls down export-led recovery. South Korea keeps rewriting history at the Paris Olympics, with Park Tae-joon capturing gold in the men's under 58-kilogram taekwondo, becoming the very first Korean to win a medal in the weight class. Soon, Team Korea aims to grab a medal for the first time in 16 years in the women's table tennis team event.
Thanks for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Kim Beom-soo. We start with a North Korean defecting to South Korea on Thursday by crossing the maritime border between the two Koreas. The person reportedly crossed the neutral zone of the Hangang River estuary, located west of the inter-Korean border, and arrived at South Korea's Kyodong Island in Incheon, expressing their intention to defect. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff announced that it has secured custody of an unidentified individual presumed to be from North Korea and handed the person over to relevant authorities without providing further details. A military official reportedly said the water level in the Hangang River estuary was low at the time, so the defector crossed on foot. This is the first time in about a year and 3 months since a North Korean defected to the south by crossing the western sea border. North Korean athletes at the Paris Olympics have reportedly received Samsung smartphones. This has raised concerns about potential violations of a UN sanction that bans the supply of electronic devices to the regime. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Beom-soo explains.
South Korean table tennis mixed doubles bronze winner Im Jong-hoon holding up a Samsung smartphone and taking selfies with his partner Shin Yoo-bin, together with Chinese gold medalists and silver medalists from North Korea. As an official sponsor of the International Olympic Games, Samsung has provided its Paris Olympics edition Galaxy smartphones to the IOC, which the committee distributed to athletes in the French capital. The Galaxy Z Flip 6 Olympic edition has appeared several times with winning athletes taking selfies using the device at the podium. The gold-colored phone with Olympic rings engraved on the surface has been made exclusively for athletes competing in this Olympics. But concerns rose as Radio Free Asia reported on Wednesday local time that the IOC distributed the phones to athletes from North Korea as well, hinting at the possibility of a violation of a UN Security Council resolution. Resolution 2397, adopted in 2017, prohibits all member countries from supplying, selling, or transferring electrical equipment to North Korea as they can be modified and used for military purposes. An official at the Ministry of Unification said while there's a possibility that the distribution of Samsung smartphones to North Korean athletes may violate the UN Security Council resolutions, it is the IOC that needs to answer those concerns. Samsung Electronics said the distribution is solely up to the IOC and that the company is not involved in the matter. Back in 2018, during the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, Samsung again provided smartphones to the IOC, which were offered to athletes from North Korea with a condition that those athletes return them before going back to the North. North Korean athletes refused to accept the phones at the time. Kim Beom-soo, Arirang News.
We're now learning that the North Korean athletes may not have received the Samsung phones. We will bring more updates on this as and when we have them. Shifting gears to the economy, a South Korean economic think tank has slightly cut its 2024 economic growth outlook for the country to 2.5%. Let's take a look.
Weak domestic demand constraining on export-led recovery. That is how a major state-run think tank, the Korea Development Institute, evaluated South Korea's economy, while revising down the country's economic growth outlook. The KDI cut this year's economic growth forecast to 2.5% on Thursday. marking a 0.1 percentage point fall from its earlier projection presented in May. The outlook is on par with those by the International Monetary Fund and Bank of Korea, and is lower than those made by South Korean government and the OECD, which forecast a 2.6% growth. Primarily fueled by semiconductors, exports are forecast to grow at a faster clip, with the institute jacking up the export growth forecast this year from 5.6% to 7%. It shared a rather grim outlook, however, for consumer spending and equipment investment, revising the consumption down to 1.5% from its earlier forecast of 1.8%, and cutting its projection for facility investment to 0.4% from the previous 2.2%.
The growth of domestic demand centered on private consumption and facility investment is expected to fall short of earlier projections. Considering the prolonged trend of high interest rates compared to consumer prices and economic conditions, the recovery of domestic demand is likely to be delayed.
Due to weak domestic demand and falling global oil prices due to potential slowdown in the U.S. and China, consumer prices are forecast to climb 2.4% this year, which is 0.2 percentage points lower than in the forecast in May. The think tank also cited external factors, such as geopolitical risks in the Middle East or a sharp economic downturn in China or the U.S., as potential risks that could slow South Korea's economic growth.
In the U.S., stocks on Wall Street closed lower on Wednesday as the market struggled to stage a comeback amid lingering uncertainty among investors. Our finance correspondent Moon Hye-ryun has the latest.
Major U.S. stock indexes closed lower on Wednesday, failing to recover fully from the big sell-offs on Monday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed 0.6% lower, and the S&P 500 shed nearly 0.8%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq dropped by more than 1%. Throughout the trading session, the three indexes saw morning gains as the Bank of Japan commented that the central bank would not raise rates when financial markets are unstable, boosting market sentiment. Trade involving the Japanese yen has been a key factor in the sequence of events leading to global market volatility, as investors borrow the cheaper yen to trade into stocks and other assets. But with Japan's central bank raising its benchmark interest rate at the end of last month, paired with weak U.S. economic data stoking fears of a recession in the world's biggest economy, investors have been quick to sell. While investor sentiment is slowly leveling out, with Wall Street's losses on Wednesday not as drastic as those seen earlier this week, big tech stocks saw large fluctuations. Nvidia, one of Wall Street's most central companies, started out with a gain of more than 4% before it ended on a loss of more than 5%. Supermicro computer stocks tumbled by more than 20% after it reported lower than expected quarterly earnings. Tesla and Meta platforms also slipped, as well as global homestay platform Airbnb. These latest developments were reflected in the South Korean stock market on Thursday, as the country's benchmark Kospi and the secondary Kosdaq both began and ended the day's trading on a low. The Kospi and the Kosdaq closed just under 0.5% lower than the previous day after seeing bigger fluctuations at the start of the trading session. Stocks of chip makers SK Hynix and Samsung Electronics both fell. Moon Hye-ryun, Arirang News.
The founder of Kakao Corporation, Kim Beom-soo, has been taken to trial over allegations of stock manipulation. Prosecutors indicted Kim on Thursday under detention on allegations of violating the Capital Markets Act after he had been issued with an arrest warrant 2 weeks ago. The warrant accused him of interfering in stocks for 1 day, but after investigation, he was accused of interfering for 3 other days as well. He is also suspected of failing to report holdings of SM Entertainment by a private equity fund he allegedly colluded with. The allegations come in connection with the acquisition of SM Entertainment last year. Kim is alleged to have manipulated SM's stock price to prevent a takeover by Hive. Many areas in South Korea are continuously facing issues due to shrinking populations. Among those regions, Goseong-gun County has been presenting new methods, including sports marketing, to deal with the problem. Our Park Tae-joon reports.
Goseong-gun is a county in Gyeongsang-namdo province located in the southern part of the Korean peninsula with less than 50,000 residents. Due to its continuously shrinking population, the region has been coming up with new ways to address the crisis. One of the representative ways is rebranding the county as an optimal spot for sports events and off-season training, with its great facilities and infrastructure, bringing in many athletes from different regions.
Training facilities here are good, especially because this year's National Sports Festival will be held in Goseong, and it's a great opportunity to watch and learn each player's strengths while training.
In the first half of 2024, Goseong-gun County held 41 sports events, including international and national sports competitions, including for triathlon, handball, and soccer. Attracting over 80,000 people during that period, the county created an economic effect worth around $4 million, twice as much as in the previous year. Goseong-gun County calculated the economic effect by multiplying the visitors, athletes, coaches, and families with the predicted average cost of around $54 per day for accommodation and food.
Accommodation costs accounts for the biggest pie among the total spending. Then it will be food costs, as it's important to eat well during off-season training. Food costs are huge as we try to consume meat each meal.
With more people coming into the region, an official of Goseong-gun County spoke about plans to accept the increasing number of visitors.
We will continue to expand the infrastructure for sports facilities. For example, we already built the first baseball stadium in the previous year and the second one in May to welcome more baseball players.
He also spoke about plans for increasing lodging facilities, including youth hostels, so that the county can hold more sports events. Along with these efforts, Goseong-gun County aims to create an economic effect of over $6 million in the latter half of the year. In order to do so, this coastal county aims to bring more people into the region by hosting scores of sports events and off-season training for teams and athletes, as it did in the first half of the year. Park Tae-joon, Arirang News, Goseong.
At the Summer Olympics in Paris, Team Korea finally clinched a gold in the country's traditional martial art, taekwondo, the country's first for the men's division in 16 years. And South Korea's women's team is also vying for the top podium spot. Our Lee Soo-jin reports.
South Korea scored another win in taekwondo. Kim Yoo-jin defeated Hatice Kubra Ilgun of Turkey 2-0 in the women's under 57 kg competition in the round of 16 on Thursday. She'll be facing off with Canada's Skylar Park, ranked 4th in the world, in the quarterfinals at 2:30 p.m. local time. Kim's round of 16 win comes after Park Tae-joon claimed the top podium spot in the men's under 58 kg competition on Wednesday. While taekwondo is Korea's traditional martial art, this marked the first time in 16 years that South Korea won a gold medal for men's taekwondo at the Olympics. As for sports climbing, Seo Tae-yeon came in 8th in the semifinals of the women's combined event, qualifying for the final with 116.3 points in total. And one of the noteworthy upcoming events is Uharam in the men's 3-meter springboard, which will take place at 3 p.m. local time. Woo's considered a medal hopeful and finished 9th out of 18 divers in the semifinals with 432 points. He's hoping to better his 4th place finish in Tokyo with a place on the podium. The South Korea women's table tennis team semifinals will take place at the same time. While the team is one win away from clinching a spot in the final and a shot at a podium finish, the trio of Shin Yoo-bin, Jeon Ji-hee, and Lee Eun-hae have the tough task of facing off against top-ranked China. A medal in the competition would mean the country's first in the team competition in 16 years. With 12 gold, 8 silver, and 7 bronze medals in Paris as of 8 p.m. on Thursday Korea time, South Korea will be hoping to add more to its Olympic medal tally in the upcoming matches. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
The rival parties at the National Assembly have agreed to join forces to push what they call undisputed pieces of legislation affecting people's livelihoods. The chief deputy floor leaders of the ruling People Power Party and the main opposition Democratic Party held talks on Thursday and said they will work to process the livelihood-related bills during the remaining August Assembly. One such bill would be the improvement to the current Nursing Act to outline the roles of physician assistants in medical practices. However, no details have yet been finalized on the potential consultative body between the rival parties and the government, suggested by the party leaderships earlier this week. The South Korean government is set to come up with a comprehensive plan to deal with the rising number of fires sparked by electric vehicles. This is according to the Ministry of Environment on Thursday, saying it will host an emergency meeting on the 12th of this month for relevant government agencies, including the Ministries of Industry and Transport and the National Fire Agency. With more EVs on the road in South Korea, there has been a rise in the number of fires caused by them. In 2021, it was 24 cases, and last year, 72, with the most recent one in the underground parking lot of an apartment complex in Incheon, which damaged more than 140 cars. Over the international front, there has been a rare Ukrainian incursion into Russia's Kursk region. It's been reported as one of the largest incursions into Russia since the war began in 2022. Taekwondo has the latest.
Russia's defense ministry has said that up to 1,000 Ukrainian troops entered Russia near the town of Sudza on Tuesday morning local time. The Ukrainian army began a ground offensive with tanks and armored combat vehicles following missile and drone attacks. A state of emergency was declared, leading to thousands of people evacuating from the Kursk region. The Russian Chief of General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, reported to President Vladimir Putin that Russian forces had halted around 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers with airstrikes, missiles, and artillery fire and pushed them back to the border in a nighttime operation. Gerasimov said that the enemy's losses amounted to 315 people, including at least 100 killed and 215 wounded. 54 armored vehicles, including 7 tanks, were destroyed. President Putin accused Ukraine of launching an unprovoked assault on civilian buildings and residences.
The Kyiv regime has undertaken another large-scale provocation and is conducting indiscriminate shelling with various types of weaponry, including missiles, of civilian buildings, residential buildings, and ambulances.
Ukraine has not commented on the attack, but did announce that it is carrying out a large-scale plan while revealing its infiltration mission into the Kherson area, which is occupied by Russia.
We had hundreds of meetings and talks to strengthen the capabilities of our aviation, to strengthen the capabilities of our air defense system, of our defense forces.
Ukraine has been launching missile attacks on Russia. However, the incursion into the Kursk region by mobilizing infantry is considered to be unusual. This battle in Kursk appears to be one of the largest incursions into Russia since the war began in February 2022. Cha Yong-kyung, Arirang News.
Israel has reaffirmed its resolve to hunt down Yahya Sinwar, the man behind the October 7th attack. The remarks follow Hamas's recent tapping of Sinwar as its new militant leader. Choi Min-jung has more.
Israel's military chief of staff has vowed to target the new Hamas leader, Yahya Sinwar. Speaking during a visit to an Air Force base on Wednesday, Lieutenant General Herzi Halavi said the decision to name Sinwar as its new leader will not absolve him from the fact that he is a murderer.
We will make an effort to find him and attack him, and they can replace once again the head of the political bureau.
Sinwar is believed to be the mastermind behind the October 7th attack when Hamas killed more than 1,000 people during an attack on Israel, including citizens from other countries.
Sinwar is a brutal terrorist with blood on his hands, including the blood of American citizens, and not just American citizens, but citizens of many countries around the world.
Israel's attack on Gaza continued despite the change in Hamas's leadership. The Israeli army issued new evacuation orders on Wednesday for Beit Hanun in northern Gaza. This comes as Israel announced it would forcefully and immediately operate against terror groups in the region, following a rocket attack fired from the area. Meanwhile, top Iranian commander Abdulrahim Musavi welcomed the appointment of Sinwar as the new political head of Hamas, calling him a great combatant. He added that the new leadership means that Israel will have to give up hopes of survival and collapse. Hamas on Tuesday chose Sinwar as its new leader after Ismail Haniyeh was killed in Iran last week by a strike which is presumed to have been launched by Israel. Regional tensions have soared after the killing. Choi Min-jang, Arirang News.
Japan's southern coast was hit by a magnitude 7.1 earthquake on Thursday afternoon. According to the Japan Meteorological Agency, it had a depth of about 18 miles and was registered on the eastern coast of Japan's southern island of Kyushu. Japanese officials issued a tsunami advisory for the east and southern coast of Kyushu, as well as the nearby island of Shikoku. Local broadcaster NHK reported that waves have already been observed at Miyazaki Prefecture on Kyushu. BTS member Suga has apologized for a drunk driving incident amid dispute over the type of vehicle he was on. On Wednesday, Suga said he was sorry for operating what he called an electric kickboard Tuesday night while intoxicated, adding that he was unaware that such vehicles face drunk driving laws. Suga has been fined and his license revoked. Investigation, however, continues as police authorities claim Suga was driving an electric scooter with a seat. Should this be the case, Suga may face a heavier sentencing under Korea's Road Traffic Act.
Today, there was on and off rain until the afternoon. In addition, showers fell in the south and on Jeju Island. Showers will last in the south until tonight. Temperatures have risen significantly in the south, with heatwave warnings in most parts of the country. As of today, tropical nights have lasted for 18 days in Seoul. Tomorrow morning, the temperature in Seoul will start off at 26 degrees Celsius after another tropical night. This heat will persist day and night even after Balbok and National Liberation Day next week. Please drink plenty of water to avoid any heat-related illnesses. Tomorrow morning will be as hot as today, with most areas exceeding 24 degrees. Highs will move up to 34 in most parts of the country. Showers are possible this coming weekend. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That's all we have for today. Thank you for watching. Arirang News will be back at 9 a.m. Korea time.